There you go. Now we're hot.
Now we're hot. Is the light on?
We've always been hot.
They should put a note on the light over here where it's like if it's on or off.
Yeah, they should put 2 light bulbs. It's not on. The on-air one?
Yeah.
It's not on.
The little light outside?
Yeah, it's not on. Click it.
You got a big stick?
Click it. I do. I don't, unfortunately. Sick. The podcast is not recording until we press the on-air button.
I want a direct cable link up with that switch and then the on button for that camera.
Oh, dude. Oh.
That'd be so fucking funny. Just like, all right, rolling.
Dude, that would be so good.
You know what they need? They need to soundproof this room.
They do need to soundproof it. Put some fucking black foam board up.
Foam board? Oh, dude, it'd be so hot in here.
Yeah, dude, it would
little
be insane.
Heat box.
Little heat box.
Yeah.
But they just put a little, just give us a black foam board and a box with a bunch of ice. Just like
just a big ice block once a week. Yeah. They just lay it in a big metal tray. Like, that was cool.
Like house at the Salt Lake, we just approach it, just like lay in it.
You ever licked a Salt Lake?
I have not. Like a cow Salt Lake?
Yeah.
Have you done that?
Yes.
Are you okay?
Yeah. I mean,
I feel like that would be.
I mean, I'm not probably the most unhinged person you've ever met, but yeah,
it's probably covered in disease.
Yeah, probably. No, well, I gotta.
You got the first lick?
Yeah, of course.
Did it taste good?
Dude, because we raise cattle back home, right?
Yeah. Do you? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
dude,
awesome.
you never had a fresh piece of meat like off
Like
you
off
never
the
watched
cow?
a cow grow up
Yeah.
and then you just eat it.
Yeah, that's a lot of emotional processing that I don't know.
Well, I didn't really watch it grow up. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't raise it. I mean, I probably bottle fed one of them.
Yeah.
But
That's the best steak you've ever had in your life.
yeah, God, yeah. Something you raised yourself.
Yeah.
Rewarding. Actually, the most rewarding meat I ever had was the deer that I shot. That was
is that the one that you made the venison jerky out of? That venison jerky was fucking lit.
There's nothing more rewarding than like tracking something down for days and then setting up, waiting in the freezing cold for hours, and then as soon as you pull that trigger and watch it drop.
Yeah.
This is probably scarring for most people.
Yeah, that's true.
But there's like immense like release, and then it's just you just have the biggest grin on your face because like
all the tension, man.
All this massive tension, all the waiting, and you won. You won the game. And then you
won the duel.
And then you fry it up, and then you're like, it's more satisfying than you can ever imagine.
Fuck yeah. That sounds delicious. So how was the Salt Lake?
The Salt Lake was salty. I mean, it was not because like for years we'd drop this big Salt Lake, and like the cows would just go ham with that thing.
Would.
And you just like, man, that looks kind of like I could just get a piece of that actually. Not as good as what I like. You hype it up in your mind, and it's never as good as what you think what it's gonna be.
Pure,
but it's one of those like super tempting things.
Yeah.
What would you? I don't know how I would compare it to other things.
It's like literally taking a mouthful of salt and
it's like kind of like when you go to the edge of a mountain. Yeah. And you're like, what? That just jump.
The call of the void. Baby.
Yeah, like that. That's such a weird call. It's like
such a weird instinct that humans have.
Right.
Like, oh, what the fuck?
It's like when you're like driving a car, which I don't know if I've ever had that instinct of like just drive your. I think
I have it all the time. I promise. Every time I'm in the road, I'm like, what if I just fucking.
I think I've gotten it once when you drive over like because there's lots of mountains back home.
Yeah.
And there's one where it's a left turn.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just slightly go right, it's like probably like 100-foot drop to the bottom.
Oh god!
And it's like directly straight down.
It's like 90-degree cliff.
Yeah. It's directly like that. Actually, there was a girl in high school. She actually drove off of it. She survived too.
Oh god! How?
Yeah, I guess she just was dark and she didn't see, and she just drove straight.
No, how did she survive?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah, is she paralyzed? Is something
No, perfectly fine. As far as I know, if I remember correctly.
What a fucking miracle of a person.
Right, because dude, you just like every time you drove across it, you're like, I would die.
Yeah,
I would 100%
absolutely.
die. And I think people have died on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
That's the kind of shit that we should put like a wall, like right at that curve.
Yeah,
just like
it's just a railing. It's just a metal railing. It really, if you're going fast enough, you're not paying. If you didn't live there and you're driving down this 2-lane road and you just did not know that like this was this super sharp turn, left turn too. Like it's like this. It's like, you have to be going like 10 miles to do it.
Goddamn.
So if you're going like 50 or 40 or something,
You're zooming out.
You're going straight. And I'm sure if you went fast enough, you're gonna die.
No, yeah, absolutely. Terrifying. See, the thing that I get in the car is like when I'm driving and I see like a big truck, like a big semi.
Yeah.
It's fucking.
I remember when I was a kid, my cousin in the car, she would start crying if we got near a semi.
Dude, I don't blame her.
She's not driving or anything. She's in the passenger side, but it's just like this tall vehicle of just death right next to you. She would just start freaking out.
I've been almost hit by 3 semis.
Really?
Almost hit by 3 fucking semis.
I almost get hit by 3 semis every day driving.
It sucks. I stay away from them. I see them on the road and I'm like, I'm letting you go through. Do your thing. I don't care. I don't care anymore. I'm done driving for the day. They're so awful. One time I was sandwiched between 3 of them. It was like 1 here and then 2 next to me.
That's like some stuff where you start seeing like they start closing in on you and you just die.
That's some Mission Impossible shit.
Right.
It's like, nope. Hated it. Anyway, welcome back to the Drunken Ship Podcast.
You noticed I didn't do it?
You didn't do the theme song.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
Are we going to do it right there?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Not? Theme song. actually, let's say it on 3. Ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Theme song.
Did you change it?
No.
I watched it the other day and it was like saturated as hell. I was like, what's it going for? It's artsy.
Oh, that may have been a mistake.
Oh.
I may have double graded it.
Maybe that's probably what it was.
Yeah,
yeah okay.
So I graded all my clips. And then that one was in there, but I forget that one's already graded.
Is it? Oh, I see. And you didn't. Yeah. You just okay.
Just like added my grade on top of that grade. So, oops.
I was like, when did he change it? Like, right.
It looked horrible. I'm sure.
It kind of just looks like a little like you were trying to go for something. Right. Not necessarily awful, but it's just I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, I'll take it. Yeah.
So probably shouldn't even said anything on the podcast.
Before we go on with the topic of today, which by the way, we're going to talk about Sony buying Bungie, and then like kind of what that means for the industry. Is that what we're talking about?
So
I should have pulled up the document.
Where is your computer? Yeah,
over there.
Oh, okay.
I forgot to get it set up.
So yeah, we're talking about obviously we're probably a week late the time this goes up, but Sony has bought or is acquiring actually Bungie for $3.6 billion.
That's a shit ton of money.
Yeah, that's a whole bunch of money.
Yeah, it's not $70 billion, but it's more than we'll ever see in our lifetime.
3.6 billion. That's a lot.
And that's going to be like all of the deals now that are going to be happening. They're going to be in the $1 billion range.
That's insane.
Yeah, unless they're like a very small studio.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, Sony acquired Bungie, which is not what I thought was going to happen.
Kind of definitely like a left field. No one expected to see that.
Yeah.
But I did. So if you watched 2 weeks ago, we were talking about how Microsoft just had bought out or acquired
Activision.
Well, okay, we should say that none of these deals have went 100% through. So the Microsoft deal with Activision, or no, not Activision, but Blizzard.
Yeah, Activision Blizzard, because Blizzard owns Activision.
Yeah, so it's called Activision Blizzard. Or is it?
So maybe Activision.
I think they acquire Blizzard, and then it's just Activision and everyone
came with that
underneath them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We should preference though that this is none of these deals have actually went through.
Mm-hmm.
These are all like just in the works. So they have to like draw up contracts and they have to do it takes a very, very long time to do stuff like this.
They could still fall through.
They could just be like, I don't like this agreement. So because this is like big boy stuff. This ain't just some games journalism, little
platform.
Nothing like that. This is like, these are companies.
Yeah.
This is like Google buying like YouTuber, like when that happened.
Yeah.
So this is, anything can fall through. This is probably going to be, I'm going to assume this next 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
Go through. But these deals, take years and years of like negotiating to get it just to this point.
Right.
And then it's another year or whatever, 6 months to
like
agree.
Implement it and get everything correct.
Right, because you're essentially buying employees, your technology, you're doing legal fees, the rights to stuff, all of that stuff. So a lot of this stuff, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to be going on. And that's why that I kind of wanted to not name this episode, but I think I have a theory.
Yeah.
That there is a secret war going on right now.
Yeah.
And it's a studio war.
Studio war. What do you mean by a studio war?
Secret studio war.
So we've heard of console wars. What does a studio war mean?
Studio wars, essentially what we've been seeing is, I think it's no coincidence that after like 2 weeks after Microsoft, or a week, after Microsoft buys up Activision Blizzard or announces that they're going into partnership, that they're going to go under Microsoft, Sony announces that they're acquiring Bungie.
Right. But it's interesting because Microsoft bought a publisher, a whole publisher.
Yes.
And Blizzard as a development studio, but they bought a whole ass publisher. Sony is buying an independent studio.
Right.
Bungie. So they're not necessarily on the same scale.
No, not by no means.
By no means. But Bungie's responsible for some of the biggest franchises out there, like the original Halo developers, now Destiny. Mm-hmm. So like they still got a lot of like, I guess, power for their IPs as a studio development. Do you think that this is actually in response to the Activision thing, or do you think that this is more like it was happening already and we just published it? Because
I think both. Okay. I think what's been going on. So we're now seeing the light of day for like a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Because obviously this takes a very long time to do. But let's say 2-3 years ago, I mean, okay, let's go back. Microsoft was actually trying to acquire Bungie a few years back, which they did have. I mean, they were like Bungie was under Microsoft for Halo. For a long
but they
time.
were still independent.
Yeah, and then they tried to acquire them, and then they ended up leaving.
Yeah.
And then they went on to make, I think,
Destiny. Destiny was the first thing that they made after.
Right,
after
and then was it Activision owned them, right?
I don't know.
I believe it's Activision because now quote me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong. And in the comments, tell me if I'm wrong on this, but. The whole reason that they had to make Destiny 2 is because I think Activision
wanted them to do it.
Yeah, it was. They never wanted to make Destiny 2. They actually, because when they revealed Destiny 1, they had that 10-year roadmap. That was going to be like one of the first console games to
So
to
that
be
was
a live service.
Because Destiny was like the original game as a service.
Yeah, it was back in 2015, I believe.
Yeah,
that they wanted to start doing that, and everyone's like crazy. Like that's 10 years supporting a game. That's insane.
Yeah, that's
and
crazy.
then after like 4 years, I think they got a lot of not backpedaling, but like they got pressured by the studio to make Activision.
So before we even Activision made a serious offers, but the chance to work on Xbox, the chance to work with a company that took the game seriously. Before that, we were worried that we get bought out by someone who just wanted Mac boards or didn't have a clue. So this is from 2001 to 2007. And then from 2007 until now, Microsoft and Bungie were working independently. But they've just been independent since they stopped with Microsoft.
Yeah.
So they've been an independent company, but they might have been publishing through,
I think, Activision.
Through Activision. So,
yeah, and then they got pressured from Activision to make Bungie, Destiny 2.
Exactly. Bungie announced that it was entering a 10-year publishing agreement with publisher Activision Blizzard.
Because it makes no sense for them to be called Destiny 2.
Yeah.
And then, like, they shouldn't, what... They could have called it anything else, like Destiny something. Like
Destiny was a beta, essentially, for the 10-year roadmap in Activision's eyes.
Yeah.
And then the original Destiny, and then Destiny 2 was like where they actually started implementing all the road mapping that they wanted to do.
But they could have called it like Destiny Queen's Crown or something
different, yeah.
Just not Destiny 2, because now it's Destiny 2, and now they're they're actually going for the 10-year roadmap for this game.
I think that they're close to it.
They keep releasing expansions and all that stuff.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
So that's kind of Bungie's story. They went from Microsoft to independent, but publishing through Activision.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where they've been at until Sony has bought them.
I do want to make a side note here. I think it is kind of hilarious that Microsoft has now acquired Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, and Sony now owns the original publishers for Halo.
The original developers for Halo. That's crazy.
It is so funny.
Dude, I love Halo as a franchise.
Yeah.
But I would love if the Bungie guys came back up and they made a PS5 exclusive that's like the Halo killer.
So
yeah,
that's funny that you say that. They are currently so Bungie right now, they're currently working on Destiny 2, making expansions, that 10-year roadmap. But they are also working on a new IP.
Okay. Do we know what the new IP is?
We don't.
Okay.
So my question for that is this game going to be a Sony exclusive, or is it going to be a
multi-platform?
So they are going to be, so after the deal closes, Bungie will still be an independent subsidiary.
Yeah,
So they'll be, I think pretty much what that means is like, and this is pretty much what a lot of with the Microsoft stuff too, like a lot of the Activision Blizzard, they may, if they release on multi-platforms, they are getting a cut of those. Sony or Xbox or Nintendo, whatever, they're getting a cut of those prices. And really, that's what we're going to see in the future. I don't think a lot of this stuff is not going to be... So, I mean, obviously... So I think what's going to happen is whenever they want to push the console, if they were like, we need to move consoles.
Yeah, they're going to push an exclusive.
It's an exclusive.
Yeah.
That's typically how this is going to work. But mainly, this is a money power move thing. So they want a bigger percentage cut out of games that's getting released on these multi-platform things.
Especially as we start moving into games as a service more and more.
Yeah.
Into it. Like it makes more, it doesn't make more sense, but if you're Bungie, a company that's working in games as a service, the resources from a company like Sony would be invaluable to you as a development team.
Because you're constantly making money.
Constantly making money. They got the infrastructure to do it. It makes a lot of sense if that's what they're going for like games as a service. The interesting thing about being like a multi-platform studio with the option to self-publish or an independent subsidiary of Sony is it's going to be that. Is that we might not necessarily see a change in the development course of Bungie or where they're releasing, but we are going to see a lot of these big branches of gaming, Sony, Microsoft. Nintendo's kind of doing Nintendo's doing its own thing. Hasn't Nintendo?
That's a different market, honestly. I mean, that's in Japan.
Well, that's exactly why I think the gaming industry is so interesting because Nintendo has never competed, in my opinion.
Well, I think back in the heyday with like Sega
with the GameCube and the PS2, maybe. But Nintendo has been on its own rhythm for so long that I think they just exist outside of like the market for Xbox and Sony altogether.
See, I think there was a cross between Nintendo and Sony. Like it used to be. Well, I mean, obviously Sony's
good coffee,
good mint coffee.
Fucking mint.
You damn right. Sony used to be, it's a Japanese studio.
Yeah.
Now they've kind of really made a transition into more of the American market.
Well, yeah, the PS. I feel like the PS4. Sorry, like they've always had a big American presence, starting with the PS2. The PS2 is like one of the biggest sold. I think to this day the biggest sold console out there. So I
maybe I like probably saw maybe like a decline more in Japan for like just because the mobile market, handheld and mobile are such a big market in foreign countries like that.
Yeah, and Sony's been tapping into it with things like the Final Fantasy Battle Royale mobile game. And I'm sure they've got a couple of.
Oh God! If you guys have ever watched Japanese commercials,
they're so
half of those commercials are for mobile games.
Yeah,
no shit.
Yeah, they got like 6. They got like a My Hero Academia mobile game. They got a Bleach mobile game. They got a 7 Deadly Sins.
Dude, I am almost certain that they have franchises like just for mobile games.
Yeah.
Like there's like lines of these mobile games. It's insane.
Absolutely.
But I think it makes more sense for a console to sell better in the U.S. So maybe that's. That's all speculation, but I think that might be why it's more applicable for Sony to push, the PS4, PS5 here in the States.
And also Sony did a really smart thing when because they were dealing. a lot of the game library for Sony used to be like the platformers and the RPGs and the JRPGs and all of that. So they made a really smart move by moving into the shooter market, into the more American accessible like games that they want to do. God of War, making that like, you know, part of their library to accommodate for the audience. I think that they did a really good move there because they've kind of cornered off a section of themselves. Like Sony is really good at single player experiences.
Yeah.
And
that at-home movie, interactive movie. Not to say that no, I'm not like bashing. That's not bashing. I'm just saying that it's a cinematic experience.
Yeah. I mean, you
very
go to
cinematic.
Sony when you want to play The Last of Us 2, and then you go to Xbox when you want to play Call of Duty Shooty. You know,
like, I think. Well, especially for like the 360 era, like Microsoft definitely tapered off. Like this is where like multiplayers. I mean, like that's they brought up multiplayer. Yeah, and I think it's more or less it's kind of like congealed or not congealed, but like it's shifted it more towards PC now. Not from Microsoft per se, but multiplayers in general.
Well, that's a combination, the conversation with the Game Pass and everything like that. Yeah. But what I'm trying to say with Sony is like by acquiring Bungie, and then saying they are a studio, independent studio that can self-publish and publish on whatever many platforms they want. And they provide them with resources and they take a cut of the profits for whatever publishing Bungie. Because I think that exclusivity is a thing that it's not relevant anymore. It's not as relevant anymore.
Well, it was definitely like the 360 generation and all of that. I mean, that was they were trying to get consoles in homes. Yeah. So that was why it was so keen to have an exclusive big title for your. Because you're trying to sell that game that everyone wants to play, but they can only play it in one place. In one console. And that moves consoles. Today, now, things are such a live service that that's not really it's not about the consoles anymore.
Yeah, and only the real diehard fans are going to be the people that buy a PS5 and an Xbox One S or something like that.
Yeah, correct. So now it's more or less who's getting a cut out of that game. Mm-hmm. Because it just makes... We've shifted more into like crossplay, I think the more crossplay shows up, the more it's that's just the way it's going to go now. Yeah. So things are just gonna, if your game has multiplayer, it's going to have crossplay, which it doesn't matter where you're playing at.
So I know that. So Tate's taking a break. He's on vacation right now. But when we were writing this document, he kind of put his own input in the Google document, which is one of the funniest things that I've seen. He did it while we were in the bathroom.
Yeah. I was writing this out, and then I came back and just sat down. I'm like, who wrote on my computer?
Tay had 3 whole paragraphs about it. But he does say something interesting. It's like PlayStation has been hinting and recently, this is Tay's input, PlayStation has been hinting and recently stated to be creating 10 games as a service titles in the future, judging from their recent acquisitions from smaller studios such as Firesprite, Bluepoint, and Nixes. And then in terms of software, Nixes software, Sony appears to be making use of these studios to reduce production line time for future titles, assuming they're expanding existing IPs and creating new ones as well. You get the hint by the Bungie PlayStation blog post. Bungie has experience with the game as a service title. Sony will use that as an advantage for future PlayStation game as a service titles down the road.
Sony's actually planning for 2022 to release 10 live service games this year. Yeah, which is crazy. That's a pretty hefty. It's almost like one a month.
That's pretty ambitious. Yeah. Yeah. That is almost one a month.
Yeah, that's insane.
But the thing is, like, when the market is shifting that way, like games as a service, you make a platform for a game, and then you just support the game for 5 to 10 years, and you just make so much fucking money. Yeah. I mean, like Halo already, even with their cosmetic stuff, like they're adjusting the shops and stuff like that, but Halo's already made bank on cosmetics. Yeah.
It's such a smarter
it's a smarter business model.
Yeah, sure. Just to release a game instead of like getting $60 or $70 out of a game, and a lot of players have already shown dislike for the $70 price point change, which, I mean, it was inevitable that it was going to come anyway, but it makes more sense to release a game completely for free and have them players spend like $300 over the course of 2 years. Yeah. And now you've made like three times the money. Yeah.
So another side note from Tay, this is the last thing that he said. It's like, while there's more acquisitions to expect in 2022, it seems Sony is doing more deals that are beneficial with actual development compared to Microsoft. Microsoft is buying up IPs and exclusively putting them on their platform, whereas Sony is taking first parties and expanding them.
Well, see,
he says that's all speculation, however. But go on.
I think this is where we see like a how do I want to say this? This is where I think it's not necessarily we're going to see like a lot of. So let's take for Sony for example, like they're not a huge company like Microsoft. They don't print money like Microsoft because Microsoft is not. So Sony is. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a big. Yeah, don't get me wrong. It's a big company, but their games division, I don't think they give as much funding as Microsoft does because Microsoft just prints money left and right because they just make computers, which is like one of the leading computers in the world. And then
they make the OS.
The OS, right?
Windows, yeah, the basic Windows. I think that if I were to say, I'd have to look up numbers to tell for sure, but I do think that Sony and Microsoft are on at least, a couple of degrees away from each other in terms of monetary standing. Like whatever resources Microsoft has, Sony has just as much resources. They, as a company, because Sony is involved in sound, TVs, gaming, movies, all of that shit. So Sony, as a company, as an overall umbrella,
has more of
as big as Microsoft is. They just got more branches.
Right. It's more of a media.
Yeah, it's a media conglomerate. Sony is a media conglomerate, and Microsoft is more strictly into like software and hardware
based
types of product, which they're their own markets. But for their gaming divisions, I think that Sony has clearly gained a huge advantage in the market by virtue of the PS5. And the PS4 sold extremely well. Xbox dropped the ball when it came to consoles. And that's why in my opinion, they started focusing so much on the Game Pass because they knew that they weren't going to put as many consoles out as Sony was.
Right.
So they said, let's put the Game Pass on PC, put it on Xbox, put a shit ton of games on it.
Let's adapt.
And which makes sense because PC is, you're already selling the hardware. Might as well make it easy.
I mean,
selling the software.
Put two cash cows
together.
Yeah.
So what I do think that this means and I do agree with Tay that Sony is, in fact, taking development from first parties. He's making people that they work with and have relationships for like a good minute. And then they're acquiring those and then using their resources to develop what they want to develop, but letting them do their own thing as well.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of what I see with Bungie. They like, okay, we're acquiring you. We're going to use you to cut down on our development. Yeah. And we're going to publish that game under the Sony banner and you still get to keep your projects. They're kind of like a subcontract.
Right. It's really all this stuff. So the whole Studio Wars stuff, it's not so glamorous as what you think it is. It's not like, oh, they're going to start releasing exclusives. It's not that cut and dry. It's a very boring business decision, what they're doing. Essentially what's happening, it's just percentage takes. It's just they're making more money by having a hand on in part of the studio. Mm-hmm. So when that game gets sold somewhere else other than their platform, which they know it will, they're taking a higher percentage cut than
off that.
So let's say like,
and point out, if you're somebody that works in the game industry and has a more like a deeper understanding of what this is, we'd love to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
To sort of run into like what this means, like practically in the game development environment, because I know what it looks like to us, like as a consumer, what we're going to get out of it. But what does it look like for the developers? What does it look like for the people that are actually working with these companies? Does that change their workflow? Are they getting stifled? Are they getting a good deal out of this? Like, I'm curious about that.
I really think they're nothing for a developer. For like someone that's just like sitting there like texturing or modeling, it probably nothing changes. For boardroom meetings, I don't know if really like Microsoft's even want to care if there's I don't think they're going to put someone from Microsoft on the board of directors of like some type of the studio or whatever. Yeah. I think they're just going to let them ride it or, they're like, just keep doing your thing. You're making these like AAA games. We just want a price percentage of, this cut. And essentially that's all it comes down to. I mean, they're just making more money with, acquiring this and they know long-term wise, it's just, they're going to make a ton of more money if their games are getting released. That's not to say, no, it's definitely not to say that they're not going to have an exclusive somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I think that trend is going to lead into more like timed exclusives.
Time exclusives is a big thing. So a year exclusive that we've seen that before in the last couple of years. I do know. So Microsoft, they know they're lacking a little bit.
Yeah.
In their exclusive department, so they are making crap. What is that game called from the Fallout developers? Bethesda's new game, the Starfield.
Oh.
Starfield's going to be an Xbox exclusive.
Yeah. Okay.
So essentially, some games like that, they're going to, but not. I don't think it's going to be like crazy. Like they're going to like gobble up Spyro and Crash, and then only release on, Microsoft's platforms, because I don't think they would sell well like that either. I think they know they would sell better on a PlayStation.
Yeah.
But the twisted thing in that situation is the next Crash or Spyro that comes out, or whatever have you.
Microsoft is not.
Microsoft's actually making more money off of that than Sony would.
Yeah.
It's kind of evil in that sense. So essentially,
this is just one big Yu-Gi-Oh duel, and everybody's just activating trap cards that dip into the other's graveyards. That's all it is.
Oh yeah,
that's all it is.
I'm just big dicking you, and I'm taking more research. I'm getting more money out of your own game than you are.
Does it? And that's the interesting thing when it comes to licensing, because licensing, whoever owns the license is the person that dictates what's happened to the thing. So like, it doesn't really matter if Crash was a Sony game at the beginning. If you own the license, you can do it whatever the fuck you want with it.
I really don't think they're gonna. I mean, they could. They absolutely could just have their input in if they wanted to, because they do have they own it. Mm-hmm. I don't think they care though.
For me, it's not about caring. I just think it's not going to be as practical to like stick. Like, I think the way that Sony is doing it, Sony is acquiring a studio, and then saying, you're going to work for me. We got a lot of projects, and I need a small fraction of your employees to work on that project. Mm-hmm. And we'll give you funding for all the other shit that you do, and like we make money off of you or whatever. However that works, but I think the way that Sony is doing it makes to me a lot more sense than Microsoft is doing it, because Microsoft just bought a big publisher and a bunch of other companies that were probably underneath that publisher. But Sony, I think Sony is building up a repertoire of developers and development studios that they can then assign projects to. Mm-hmm. And I think that for me, that's a better approach, especially if you're doing games as a service.
Well, I think Sony is going more in the direction of exclusives. Take Bluepoint for example. Yeah. I think they're going to they're probably going to start developing a lot of more exclusives for Sony, which that's kind of like always been the Sony route.
Yeah, Sony has always had it. Like they got Spider-Man, God of War, Horizon.
But the thing with the acquisition with Bungie, which is kind of weird, if you take that in consideration, Sony's normally known for publishing exclusives for their, pushing out consoles. Mm-hmm. Destiny 2 is still going to be multi-plat. They're just going to take a more percentage of that. Now, with the new IP that Bungie is working on, what is that going to pertain?
Well, that's the thing. We can't really speculate on that until we know more about the IP.
The thing, I mean, if that's the route they want to take, it could mean that Sony...
We could be seeing...
Because if Sony doesn't care about trying to just take a bigger percentage by doing multi-plats, I mean, obviously they're going to get that with Destiny 2.
Right.
But this new IP, if I'm speculating on it, it could mean that they're developing a new IP for Sony.
So here's the thing, and here's kind of like where I think that studio war is absolutely a thing. People are like, I feel behind the scenes.
Let's kind of dive into that.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of what's going on that we're just not seeing as consumers is there is constantly someone from Sony and Microsoft and maybe some other studios, we have no idea, that are just constantly in the offices, boardrooms of these smaller studios, and they're trying to work out deals. And I think this is constantly going on right now. I think a lot of stuff has shifted and moved around where they are getting them, and now they're starting to show out. So like it's because it's no coincidence that it got shown after 2 weeks after Microsoft acquired Activision Blizzard that Sony said that, hey, we have Bungie now.
Right.
So now it's... I mean, if you're doing exclusives, that's the only point it would be like a big deal.
So here, and my take is that like studio works are absolutely a thing. I do think that boardrooms and executives are always bidding and saying like, what's the next big acquisition that we can make? And whether or not like Xbox is doing a response to Sony and Sony is doing a response to Xbox, just kind of see who has the biggest dick in the industry.
Yeah. It's like who wants to throw down the most money here?
Right. Which I totally see that
Or
happening.
What are you risking? Are you willing to put in a bunch of cash into one thing?
Yeah, and see if it works out, see if it plays out.
Right.
And while I do see that happening, I do think that like as a result of the studio war and as a result of like all this madness that we've been dealing with when it comes to getting a console, I do believe that some facet of the console wars are going to come back. I think that we're going to see a lot of exclusives on Sony's side, at least timed exclusives from Sony's side and time exclusive from Xbox's side.
That would make a lot of sense for the new IP anyway.
Yeah, at least for new IPs.
Because let's say, okay, time exclusive makes sense here because say the new Destiny game is not exclusive, it's just time exclusive. So you get that year, you get the whole year
of playing
of that. What'd you call it the other week of not missing out?
Oh, the fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out.
Not having FOMO.
FOMO. Yeah. So they create FOMO with that.
And FOMO is what buys consoles, like what sells consoles.
Yeah, you don't want to miss out because that year is critical. The first 6 months super critical of like you want to get in because you want to be a part of this zeitgeist of that game.
Yeah.
And then after a year, we get released on another console, and then you're taking a big percentage of those sales too. Yeah. And that honestly, that would make sense for Microsoft too to do something like that. Yeah. Now that's where it kind of causes some stigmatism because now they're holding back a massive studio.
Let's wind back. Causes some what?
Stigmatism.
What are you trying to say?
Like people are freaking out that because people are scared. What the issue is?
No. I know what you're trying to say. What the message you're trying to say?
Yeah.
The word that you use,
stigmatism,
is an eye condition.
What am I supposed to be saying?
Astigmatism.
Astigmatism.
Astigmatism is an eye condition that I have. It's like why
wait.
I think you're thinking of the word stigma.
Stigma.
Astigmatism.
I know what I see what I'm saying. I see it's stigma.
I just wanted to see if you rewind.
Really, I think I've heard. I swear to God, Ryan. We're getting on a total tangent, and this is an issue where we got to stop. But like, I swear to God, I've heard people say stigmatism.
Those people are all
wrong.
You
know what? You're right. Yeah. I think I remember seeing a fucking eye commercial.
Yeah, it's a stigmatism because I have
stigma.
The
stigma of I see.
Stigma is the negative perception of something.
Thank
you,
that's
what you're going for. You're welcome, baby.
Okay. Completely lost train of thought there. But I think
you're talking about
what people are afraid of them holding back that was like people's issue with them acquiring Activision Blizzard because it's so many games under that title that they could hold all those games back for exclusive. Now, year exclusive, that makes sense. And then people freak out because FOMO. I want to call it FUBAR. But yeah, FOMO. People will get freaked out because of FOMO.
Yeah, I do think that Tay has a really good, solid point. I think Sony is investing into these development studios to have... The way that I see it, Sony is just like, you publish that thing, you work on that thing, you publish it, we give you the infrastructure to keep games as a service out, and then like we make money off of the games as a service. And if Sony's making 10 or 15 games as a service, by the time the year is out, they're making, in the next 10 years, they make a bunch of games as a service.
Cash over fist.
They're making a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
Especially if we're talking about games that have 5 to 7 year roadmaps. That's a bunch of support for games. And Sony, being a company that's as big, can support that infrastructure. They can support that development workflow. And I think that's where I view Sony different than Xbox. I think Xbox is just grabbing shit and then figuring out what to do with it. And I think that Sony has an intent with who they're purchasing. Because they bought out... Who did they buy out? The Spider-Man developers. They bought out the... Has God of War always been a first-party development? Or is that like a third party that got...
I think they created an entire new studio.
Yeah.
San Diego?
San Diego something? Santa Monica.
Santa Monica. Is it Santa Monica Interactive?
Yeah. Santa Monica Interactive or Santa Monica Studios,
yeah. That's completely new studio.
Yeah, so it's a first party by Sony.
Yeah.
So is that the same people that did the original God of War?
No, I don't think so. So I think they had the rights to it, and then they just created this whole new studio to make it just pretty much a new franchise.
Just reboot the franchise.
Right.
So I think it's interesting because like Sony has they developed the original one.
They did. Okay.
Yeah. So
they just bought them then.
Oh no, I'm sorry. They give me the same fucking.
I think it's a new studio.
No, God of War is a 2005 God of War developed by Santa Monica Public. They were just published by Sony.
Yeah, but now they own them. Right?
Yeah. So I think that's what Sony is doing. Sony builds this really great relationships with development studios and publishes their games, and then goes like, "Dude, we've been working together for like 10 to 15 years. Why don't we just make this official?"
Right.
And
will you be my girlfriend? Will you work for the studio?
And I think that what that does is that creates an environment where developers and Sony are working together, but there's no air of like ownership, even though they do own them. There's no air of like, now Sony owns Microsoft owns Call of Duty and they own Activision Blizzard.
Mm-hmm.
They own like Overwatch and stuff like that, but they had no prior relationship to them past to that point. So it's hard to trust. It's hard to say what they're going to do.
What it is it's not that they're trying to develop an exclusive for their console. I think what it is it's more just business. It's just they want that bigger percentage out of, because they know, take Call of Duty for example, that game is going to sell like crazy.
Oh yeah,
so they want a big piece of that pie. That's all this is. It's very boring. Sony is a lot more fun because you're getting exclusive. You're getting
exclusive for stuff that isn't necessarily
their requirements they make more sense, but
it is just about making. At the end of the day, it is just about where to throw your money so that you make more for profit.
Right.
That's at the end of the day. And it makes sense. Sony is up in the sales, but PlayStation charges.
But I think if Sony had just a bigger wallet or they had the more resources to throw right into a studio, I think they would acquire. Just studios randomly.
I don't think so. Not because Sony is like a better company than Microsoft.
Yeah.
But because I think they know what works for them.
Yeah.
I think they know that this formula of like buying out first party or like second party developers and making them first party studios that work under the Sony branch but can still publish independently is ultimately a better environment for development studios.
Yeah.
And we can see that because the games that have come out of those deals have been absolutely incredible. And they've sold extremely well. Like the Spider-Man games.
Kind of like take it like this. So Microsoft cold hard, I'm going to take it. Sony's more like warm welcome, come in, sit by down the fire,
have a little hot cocoa.
It's like, how would you? And then they come up to you like, would you like to stay? Would you like to stay? You're so comfortable. Why don't you just stay the night?
Yeah, come on.
That's exactly in my mind. This is exactly how it's going.
Sony's like,
let's go. Peasants in the truck. Go. Sony's like, come on.
Yeah, Microsoft is going to Home Depot and getting all the workers.
Like, get in the truck. Let's go.
Get out of here. And that really is, and like, I don't know a lot about the development practices that like Sony studios are going through versus Microsoft studios or like Microsoft owned studios. They could all suck, but the media perception, the public perception really is that Sony is a much more understandable giant in the game industry. Like it's much more, they have a lot more sympathy for the gamer than Xbox and Microsoft do.
Yeah.
For some reason. I don't know what they did right. But I do think that it shows to them, like in their track from acquiring studios, that they have made some incredibly great games under the Sony branch. So I'm more willing to trust them with an acquisition like Bungie. Like if Sony bought Activision and Blizzard, I'd just be like, that's a weird move. Why did they do that?
Yeah.
But when I heard Xbox bought it, it's like it made sense because Xbox is kind of plummeting in terms of sales.
Yeah, and the Call of Duty brand kind of sticks with like. Especially, just from the 360 days, I think more it's shifted towards Sony because Sony had a deal with Activision with Call of Duty. It was like you got exclusive for years. It was like you got exclusive camo scan or something.
Some shit like that.
For if you played on PlayStation.
So as of right now, I don't think that a lot is going to change in terms of the gaming status. Like the status quo in the industry is not going to change a lot as a result of Sony buying Bungie or Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard. But I do think...
I mean, this has been very boring. It's all numbers and speculation and all this stuff like that. I really don't think we're going to see too many exclusives.
Yeah. I think we're going to see 2 or 3 new IPs on either side that are going to be exclusive.
So that's the only thing I think people have to worry about. Yeah. No franchise established right now, but new IPs definitely up in the table where, hey, if we do... They could go either direction. They'd be like, "Hey, do we need this? Do we need this to be exclusive,
or do we not?"
Because the only reason. So imagine like this: like you have, you can make a lot of money if you multi-platinum it because it's getting everywhere. You're getting more consumers out. You're opening it up. And then you can take profits out of that from other studios or from other consoles, stuff like that. If you're trying to push something else, like say your console or your live service,
then it makes sense to
and you want them all in house, you make it exclusive. Okay, bring them in. Microsoft is going to a route where they're not really going to need that because they have it. They're more seems like and Microsoft is making it's just business moves for them.
No.
So let's say like Sony is definitely going for the exclusive route.
Yeah.
They're trying to just So I think we're going to see a lot of new IPs and a lot of new exclusives from Sony.
Yeah.
It's just the way it's always been.
Yeah.
Microsoft is definitely going to go for
I think Microsoft is
multi-platform,
gonna do a broad reach.
super broad reach, and then it's just they're going to dip.
Yeah.
They're just taking, and that's why it's boring. It's just a boring because it's just I don't think other than like Starfield, but it's just because they have to.
Yeah,
they have to because like you need your consoles to still stay alive,
especially when you're talking about like Game Pass, something like that, where like it makes sense for a Game Pass user to get as many games as they possibly can in the library. You know?
Do you think? Here's a wild question: do you ever think the console for Xbox itself would go away?
I don't think so. So the only reason I don't think so is because Xbox gaming PCs are expensive, and
well, I mean, the more we get along in the years, the cheaper and more efficient they get.
That's true. That is true. But gaming PCs in general are expensive because the moment that you get into the fact where you have a new architecture to like update a graphics card or make graphic cards work more efficiently, the 4090 comes out.
Yeah,
like so,
every year.
So it's always the fucking. You're never gonna reach to a point where average PC gaming, to the point where you can build a machine that plays like an Xbox in terms of quality and performance. Sure, that's pretty accessible. That's like $1,000. But I do think that there's a PC gaming is intimidating. Buying a PC is intimidating.
Well, here's the. Do you imagine this? Picture this. The reason I ask that is just because Game Pass is a live service.
No.
So I think what in the future, this is crazy thinking. Just imagine Game Pass on everything though. Because
Game Pass on Switch, Game Pass on Sony, stuff like that.
Just imagine that. And it's not necessarily they're making money from, they want to be the Netflix. They want to just be on everything, which makes sense. And they're like what they've been doing so far.
Right.
They want to have a super wide reach, and the games and service that they're just paying monthly. They're constantly making money off of it. And then eventually you build up this repertoire of cash and then you're not having to invest into studios and stuff
You're
like that.
You're not selling hardware.
You just gobble up.
Yeah. You're essentially selling licensing.
Gobble up all these. Imagine this. Imagine the new Call of Duty. Day one on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Imagine these brilliant.
Rainbow Six Extraction made a day one on Game Pass.
Day one on Game Pass. That's insane. That's like if that's because that's way.
That's also a game that was like headed for a bad launch to begin with.
Oh God, yeah. Like make a new goddamn Rainbow Six Siege, please. Like,
so Xbox needs to be careful because like right now Xbox Game Pass has the perception that that's where all the games that don't sell are going.
Well, it's easy. Pass. Well.
Because it's easier to play them, you're not spending
gobble them up. Yeah, I mean, if you don't like, there's a hungry wolf. If your leg is broke and you're a sheep, that's what's going to happen. Like you're going to get gobbled up by the machine.
But I'm worried. I worried for Game Pass in that regards because
then it gets a bad rep.
Then it gets a bad rep for the games that are like subpar or had a bad launch get sent to Game Pass, and so then you're like the graveyard of bad launches.
Sure.
But do you make money because people want to play Rainbow Six Extraction and don't want to shell out $50 for it?
Yes, absolutely. But when you got the brand new Call of Duty, that is pretty. Let's say good. Let's say it's Modern Warfare 2, and it's probably going to be a good game.
Yeah,
and that's day one on Game Pass.
You're more likely to.
Holy shit! Sign me up. At $15 a month.
Yeah, let me.
It makes more. I mean, bang for your buck, double Christmas, definitely. I was like,
one of my favorite things that you've ever said.
Yeah, I love how it's a reoccurring thing too. It's like I can use it anywhere.
No, but I think you're right. I think they're entirely different business philosophies. I think Sony's keeping a little bit more of the traditional outlook. I think Xbox is reaching a little bit more broadly.
Yeah, and essentially, that's exactly what it is. So we're gonna see. Just to reiterate, I think we're gonna see a lot more exclusives from Sony. Yeah. Obviously, that's the way it's always been. And then Microsoft, we're gonna see a lot of stuff come to Game Pass. But necessarily, we're not going to see a lot of new IPs because they don't necessarily need to do it.
They don't necessarily have them. And then they have so many people under them now.
Because if you can put just a multi-plat game, a brand new multi-plat game on Game Pass for $15 a month, and then Sony's over there selling it for $70 to play one game.
It makes a good argument to either get it on PC or get it on fucking Xbox.
Exactly. And you can play 2 different places. I mean, it makes... But to go back to the main topic and everything... I think these studio acquisitions, I think this is definitely not going to be the last of it. I think
we're going to see a shit ton of them in the next 2 years.
If I had to guess, and I have no idea because I don't have my feet dunk in this water, but if I had to guess, they are going ham on these studios right now trying to gobble them up.
Yeah.
And that's why I say that I think there is a secret war we obviously don't see.
Oh, absolutely.
Until years later, but there's definitely constantly every day they got to be like probably trying to do this.
Sony's in a position because all of the studios and brands that Xbox acquired during the Activision acquisition are now brands that Sony's going to have a lot harder time working with if they wanted to work with them.
Ooh, that's a good point.
So if Sony's buying, oh shit, let me buy a studio that had a relationship with Xbox in the past and has failed to keep that relationship with them, let me gobble them up so that they don't have access to that platform.
Yeah.
Or they don't have access to that, that piece of content. And
Sony,
stuff like that makes sense. So like, I feel like Sony, we're going to see a lot of acquisitions from Sony where they're going to acquire studios. But I think that could potentially be in response to not letting Xbox get access to those brands and publishers and developments.
And I know this is going to piss off
as
Tay.
Ownership.
This is definitely going to piss off Tay. Because I feel like Sony's more or less, they're more prone, what it seems like, they're going for lockouts.
Yeah, just lock out.
They're like, hey, this is ours. They're gonna exclusively develop for us.
Yeah.
Sony is more or less just infecting. They're using poison counters, man. They're like, that game's gonna be on your consoles, but we're making way more money off of that than you're ever gonna see. Mm-hmm. And essentially, that's pretty much what we're seeing right now. Yeah. I don't know. What do you think in the future? What do you think? Who else do you think we're going to see? Maybe
we're going to see gaming is starting to head into the direction of like Netflix streaming and stuff like that.
Yeah,
where digital access to these games is getting more widespread and streaming is being more and more feasible for all these properties.
I think two big things we're going to see. Yeah. Definitely live service games.
Mm-hmm. Games as a live service is absolutely the standard right now.
Yeah,
it's absolutely the standard.
You're making so much more money if you release that game for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was like when I see a game for free, I'm like,
I know that
this is a lot more money if they just released it as.
And the thing
$70.
is that it fucking works. It fucking
works.
Yeah,
it 100%.
Because every time I launch Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duels, I think about dropping $30 in fucking gems every time I open it.
Yeah,
never do it, but every time I open it, it's just like today might be the day.
Let me sidebar you real quick. Don't do it.
No.
I fucking did.
Did you?
Yeah, and it's like 30 or 3,000 gems is definitely not worth it.
It's like
you can because I've already made back 50,000 gems from just playing through the battle pass or whatever they have. It's not. Don't dude. You're getting ripped off. So
no, absolutely. And then that's why I haven't done it because I duel 10 times and I make I made like 20 duels.
Yeah,
and they're like 5 turns each because my deck is kind of kicking ass right now.
Yeah,
and I get 1,000 gems.
Yeah.
Anyway. To say, I think that studio wars are absolutely a thing. I don't think that they're not going to be as exciting as like the console wars were.
No.
They're not going to be as exciting because we're getting to the point where like Xbox and Sony are so synonymous with gaming that it's just like, yeah, it's gaming. Mm-hmm. And like everything has... Back in the day, it used to be so much harder to port a game from PlayStation 1 to Nintendo 64 or PlayStation 1 to like the Sega or shit like that.
Yeah.
They used to be completely different development workflows for each of the consoles.
Which built the foundation we kind of know now. But now we're in a weird shifting transition.
Half of this shit is made with Unreal.
Yeah.
Like,
And it can just be streamed through your console.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to... Other than some controls... I have no idea. How to develop it.
Really, you have to optimize for the hardware, of course. Like you have to optimize for like the
DualSense, stuff like that.
The DualSense, the hard drive specifications, the RAM specifications.
That's the thing that kind of sucks, though. That you really don't get a full potential out of a game because if it's not exclusive.
It depends on the developer if they want to take the extra time to develop for those features.
Well, if you're making say if you want to use all the benefits out of the DualSense, which is DualSense amazing controller.
Yeah, I love that controller. I can't play Halo on the Xbox controller anymore.
Really?
Can't play Halo on the controller. I used to do the DualSense.
But you got to play a DualSense on a PS5.
Oh, it's great.
That's holy shit. That's amazing. You just don't. You get the most out of like exclusive when you're doing stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So are we gonna be seeing a lot of changes as like big as the console was? Absolutely not. This is all going to be just who has access to what how do they have access to it? And then how do these publishers make money off of it? That's really where this conversation kind of leads. I do see a lot of IPs coming from Sony as games as a service because they've hired a lot of developers that have experiences with games as a service.
I know Tay would be remiss if we don't say something about Amazon and Google. Because he wants. I know he says Microsoft is trying to compete with them.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I think Microsoft is making the environment where Amazon and Google are going to compete in. I think Xbox is creating that environment.
Like put Game Pass on. Whatever. Yeah, but I just don't think.
But I think that is Amazon Prime Gaming and Google Stadia.
No one uses that shit, and it never works out either.
Yeah, they don't, because the infrastructure just isn't there yet,
and you don't have years and years and years of stabilization.
But I think what's going to happen is that Amazon is going to pay Xbox a fee to include.
Now I will say this, Bryan. Just to finish up here and to put in some scary thoughts in your mind, this might take a whole fucking turn.
Yeah.
If we ever see, let's say, Amazon buys Rockstar.
Yeah.
If we ever see when one of these other conglomerates buy up something that's big, like what Microsoft is doing, and then they get them to
develop exclusively
through that, we might be seeing some crazy shit go off when you see a new a big IP like that get gobbled up, and then, or like a big company like that get gobbled up and then release an IP under some crazy ass shitty company. We might be in for some hard times.
Yeah, we might be down bad.
Because I'd hate to see Google and Amazon start trying to gobble up smaller studios. I think necessarily right now it's because Microsoft and Sony are so big. Yeah. Necessarily you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, well, because you're gonna play it.
Yeah,
because you're gonna play it as a consumer. You're gonna play it
right. I think what the studio wars we got to worry about, honestly, now that I think of it, is these other companies.
Yeah,
they're the ones that
especially Amazon, because they got a shit ton of money.
Right. If Amazon starts locking out, Fallout. Or I'm just an example. I know they don't.
Yeah.
It's already for Xbox, but let's say, or just Skyrim.
What if it had been Amazon that bought Activision?
Holy shit.
Yeah.
And dude, if they only developed under their studio, that would be such a game changing, that earthquake shattering. that would change their entire platform.
Yeah.
Because players would have to make a choice to jump to this weird, shitty thing if it wasn't infrastructured properly.
It's very anti-consumerist.
Super.
Sure,
yeah. Holy crap.
That's
a scary thing.
Industry. Yeah, that's like mainstream gaming. When we're talking about AAA titles, or AAA titles that are games as a service, it's just, we're verging on the point of being anti-consumer. We're like, Xbox is owning all of these people, Sony's owning all of these other people. You're gonna miss out on games based on who owns the games. Instead of them being like a more open platform like PC is. That's just the name. That's just the name of the game, I think, for gaming in general, like AAA titles. What I'm worried about is that I hope that this doesn't change a lot of the independent studios. Like people that are making indie games, small studios coming up, because that's an entirely different subsection of gaming that exists pretty much on its own and mostly on Steam.
Mm-hmm. Steam's built a lot. That's probably got to be a lot of their sales is little indie.
Yeah, it is,
because you always see like a $2 game. You're like, oh, I'll try it.
It is a
games like I've been playing them on PlayStation with my girlfriend. But
playing what?
A lot of those little indie games. So Outer Space.
Oh yeah.
Stuff like that. Like these Overcooked.
I love those.
Those are maybe not Overcooked, but Outer Space is definitely like a PC game.
Yeah.
That it's like a cute $5 PC game that it's just fun multiplayer stuff.
So that's when Sony and Microsoft start affecting those games, start affecting those studios, I'll be a little worried.
Because they could buy those.
Because they can buy those and then force them to develop for things that are not going to be those games. Stuff like that. So are we going to see a difference in the next year? Nah. Are we going to see a difference in the next 5 years? Probably.
Probably, yeah.
There's going to be a lot more acquisitions. I think to wrap it up, Sony buying Bungie is not earth-shattering.
No, but it is that is a very telling sign that there's something
going on behind the scenes that's going to change the industry in the next 5 to 10 years. But is it for the better? Who the fuck knows? I don't know. Are we gonna see a lot more games as a service? Absolutely.
I feel like we're in such a transition moment, and we've not stabilized everything yet.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna see a lot of stuff get moved around
Yeah.
in the next coming years.
And hopefully we get some good games out of it.
Yeah, and hopefully it's not. I just don't want to get locked out.
Yeah, that's true.
I want to experience everything.
Did Elden Ring come out yet?
End of the month.
Cool.
You gonna play that?
No.
Oh.
I'm
I have such a gripe with those games.
Yeah, I'll play it if you invite me to your house and you buy it.
Dude,
I'll play it.
I buy them because the world. I love the world.
The environment is so good.
But dude, I don't have. I'm a grown man. I do not have the time.
Don't have the time to sink 40 hours.
I don't have the time and patience to sink it into it. I could if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But I gotta wash dishes. I gotta make fucking dinner.
Gotta make
Do laundry. You gotta go to work and it's 6 a.m.
That's so.
It's just not like, I'm sorry,
It's not
but
feasible.
I want to play. I play too many games to sink it all into one game like that.
That makes sense.
But I think we can wrap it up here.
Yeah. Tell us your thoughts on what you think is going to happen in the comments.
I would love to know your guys' opinion in the.
If you happen to be a game developer or an employee of a game development studio, or just know a lot about game development in general, we'd love to have you on the show so we can talk about what this means with someone that actually knows the industry from the inside. I think that'd be really cool. So if you're one of those people, fucking hit us up.
Dude, getting a CEO in here, that'd be crazy.
That would be crazy.
I'd love to see it.
That being said, so that's it for today's topic. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You can find me on Twitter at _Bryan, and on Twitch at BryanBrowny. Wow.
You can find me at on Twitter at cyber_calamity, and you can find me on Twitch at CyberCalamity.
Sick. And so by the time that this comes out, this will have already happened, where we have a Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duels tournament coming up today. So congratulations to whoever won the King of Games title on the Drunken Ship channel. Shout out to you. I hope it's me.
I hope it's me.
Yeah, you're gonna get your ass beat. I hope you break.
Dude, I kind of want to. This would have been mean.
Yeah.
But for the winner, obviously they're gonna get re-nicknamed on the Discord as King of Games for a whole month. I did consider like putting whoever came in dead last,
the King
of Lames. But that's kind of bullying a little bit. But that would be funny.
It would be funny.
I'd hate someone.
Tell you what, if I come last, you can absolutely nickname me the King of Lames.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
All right.
That's it.
That's it.
Before I stop recording, you had a story that I don't think you can
tell. No, the banana story. Okay, I'll tell it real quick.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up the podcast, I do have a very funny story. If you made it to this far, congratulations. You're going to get a very funny story out of me. So I've been eating. So I bought a rack of bananas.
Yeah.
That's a funny way to start a sentence. I bought a rack of bananas. It's not called a rack of bananas, right?
It's a hand of bananas.
A hand banana? I bought a big rack of it. I like a rack of bananas way better.
Yeah, me too. I'll take it.
Could you imagine ribs, but it's all bananas? I like how we had the serious.
Yeah.
And now we're getting the goof.
We're goofy.
We goofing. So I bought a rack of bananas.
Yeah.
And I've been eating them every morning before I go to work.
Yeah.
Because I just don't have time to eat like a whole breakfast. I'm like, get a good potassium and everything. So what I've been doing is
the
like
thing you need to get a good start going to your day. Potassium.
Oh, by the way, dude, I'm in a healthy heaven right now.
Oh, really?
I had a banana and green juice on the way here,
Ooh,
dude. My body's like lifted up.
You might as well live in LA now,
dude. I could get shot and still live. Green juice is leak out of my body. A whole veggie just come out. I was eating banana, so I just eat a banana on the way down to my car. Mm-hmm. And the time I sit down in my car, banana's gone.
Yeah.
So then I'm left with the pill, right?
Yeah.
And it's not illegal to throw out to throw away a pill.
Yeah.
It's because it's biodegradable.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't get a ticket or anything for littering a banana peel or apple core or whatever, orange. So what I've been doing, I've been throwing them out my window. I just been
while you're driving?
So while I'm driving, I'll just roll down my window and throw it out. So the first morning I did this, it's 6 a.m. Or no, it's like 5:30.
God damn.
It's 5:30 in the morning. It's dark. Yeah. I can't see nothing. I'm driving down the road and I'm like, I gotta get rid of this. I can just throw it out the window. So I roll down my window and I'm like driving like this and I do this.
Yeah.
And I miss. I'm like, damn. It's still in my. I'm like, I heard a thump, and it's still in my car, and I'm like, all right, I picked it up, and I'm like, and I go to throw it again, and I fucking missed again.
You missed again.
I missed again.
How big is it? Are you looking at the window? Do you have the window open the whole way?
Bryan,
What the fuck's going on here? I feel like this is
Bryan,
a simple operation.
I rolled down the wrong window.
You fucking...
I rolled down my back window and it was throwing it. I threw a banana twice as hard as I can at my closed window, dude. It was thumping off the glass. That's why I was missing. I felt such a big idiot, dude. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ.
You know what's funny? Is that I know for a fact that when you threw that banana, it didn't like hit on just the yellow side. Like some of the inside of the banana got on
Oh,
the
it
window.
had... My window's actually clean, surprisingly.
That's so funny.
But dude, imagine me driving early in the morning and I was really gripping that thing and I'm like, I'm going to throw this thing far. And just throwing it as hard as you can. And it's right there, but I'm not looking. I'm not seeing it hit the glass because I'm trying to get my eyes on the road. I'm trying to throw it while I'm driving. And I just hit, thump. I'm like, crap, I missed. Like, how did I miss that? And then I go again. When I hit the second time, I was like, I really like looked I'm like, holy shit. Because I could hear the window. I could hear it. So it was down.
It's coming from the wrong window.
I hit the wrong
That is
window.
the funniest goddamn thing I've heard.
I was so angry.
Thank you so much for telling that story.
I'm glad
that
you
was
liked
worth the extra 5 minutes. You imbecile.
Dude, I was like, this is got to be one of the lowest points. I'm so glad no one's here to watch me do this.
It's funny because I just imagined you like putting some fucking heft.
Dude, I did. I was like,
gun.
I was like, because the banana doesn't weigh nothing, so you get a real good fling out of that thing. And dude, it's this space. It's like this much. And I'm throwing it as hard as I can at just a
So are you
brick.
throwing it on your driver's side or the passenger side?
The passenger. I was trying to throw it at my
So
passenger.
You're flinging it across the car.
Yeah, I was doing this. I was like slinging it across my passenger side window. Because it was on my driver's side, I would immediately know, right?
Yeah.
But I was trying to do it at my passenger side window.
It's like,
crap, I'm in. I was like,
it's
pick
so
up a
funny.
The worst part is I did it twice.
Yeah, that's it. Because I feel like you would look after the first time.
Yeah.
But did you like just grab the banana? And
Yeah, I was like, shit, I must have did this. Or I thought it was hitting like the side.
the side of the door. Or something
Yeah.
Like
I was like, I must have not threw it straight. Or something.
Crockett, God bless you. That's so funny. That's so funny.
I was like, my first thought was like, how the hell did I miss?
Thank you
Thank you guys for staying
watching.
around for that story. You guys, I will see you next week.
Bye.